Well, we got majority of the team, about 80% is here. And, summer is always interesting. You got about 8 weeks to get the new guys, acclimated. Really, for me, I want them getting comfortable with their surroundings, whether it's on campus, knowing where to go, academics. I mean, we had a phenomenal year academically last year. Graduated everybody, proud of that. The academic support that we've had has been amazing. Getting them just to understand what it is, our expectations on a daily basis, and then as well as easing into the basketball piece, really, really working hard in the weight room. We've got camp going on right now, day camp, which has been great. We got another one in a couple of weeks, which is obviously very important just from a community standpoint. So it's been fun. It's kind of great to get back in front of everybody, and we're really, really excited about the season. We're trying to finalize the schedule. It's not done yet. And put ourselves in a position to where I always look at scheduling as how do we engage with our amazing fan base with home games? How do we find a way to build an NCAA tournament resume? And how do we challenge ourselves? And we feel like we'll be able to do that. So year 3, fired up about it, and open up for questions.
Talk about the schedule. I guess let's start there. He gets asked of local coaches every single year, but any chance of some higher profile teams coming to the pit?
We've tried very, very hard. We've reached out to all the high major schools about coming here. And year 1, when we got here, our numbers were so bad nobody wanted to play us. And I think it's a good thing. People are seeing the fans coming back and the environment and how hard it is to win here. We did lose 3. I tell all these coaches that don't want to play us, we lost 3 here last year. 2 were at the buzzer, and obviously UNLV got us. But that's been a challenge for sure. But it is not on our end. We have been trying to be very aggressive to get some big-time names in here, but it hasn't been easy.
When you say that, just so we're clear, you're talking about home and home. I mean, if they would come here, you would take that too, just as a buy game, but nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to, it all kind of changed whenever the quad system was introduced 3-4 years ago. And now, obviously, when your league is strong, like it's been for us the last 2 years, 4 teams in the NCAA tournament, which is great. So you're going to get value in your conference. But how can you get a quad 1 at home? Can you start a home and home, doing all those things? So like the Iona game last year was kind of that marquee non-conference game. Obviously, New Mexico State wasn't on there, but those would have been 2 amazing crowds. So from a revenue standpoint, very, very important. So we're trying to do both. We're trying to sell this place out in November, which doesn't happen in a lot of places. And the way that you do that was great opponents, but also how do you help your, resume? But we're looking to start a home and home here, besides in New Mexico State.
What about New Mexico State? What's your take on that, and how close are you guys to having both those games?
It has nothing to do with me. Listen, the first year that we did it, we won at their place, and they got us at our place, and I thought everything went fine. So I know Eddie and Mario are trying to put together a plan. I mean, listen, last year, the circumstances that happened at the football game in Las Cruces and the circumstances that happened here, that is a big, big deal. That a life was lost. So I think it's very important that we all work together to be careful and to make sure that, we bring college basketball to our community, their community. So hopefully it gets resolved soon. I'm not involved in any of those conversations. I don't think Coach Hooten is either. It's I think it'll get done. It's just a matter of when.
Some of the new guys that's come along, how are they? I mean, they just got here.
Yeah, they just got here. I mean, we had our first workout yesterday, and it's just dipping your toes in the water right now. I mean, I'm very careful to burn them out too early, and just to be doing things to make myself feel better in June. I really want more than anything for them to just we want to work certainly, but this is maybe even more from a social, understanding the weight room, understanding nutrition, and then slowly putting in some basketball things.
Coach, I don't know how much you can talk about, but just because you mentioned Iona, is there anything still?
Oh, I have no intention of playing that game. So it's a matter of just figuring out how to get out of it. I mean, it's nothing to do with Iona. It's just we did it, a father, son, to get some, to get a great crowd. He's not there anymore, so I just don't. It's far, I mean, it was a bit of a sacrifice on my end to play the game, but I wanted to do it for the fans, and it was a great environment. But, we tried to start something with St. John's, but they're just kind of getting going with all their dates and scheduling. So maybe we can do something in the future for that.
Coach, the transfer portal was really active in the offseason. You've been candid about you kind of expected some players to leave and to kind of exit the program. Were you expecting the amount that left with Javonte and Josiah and stuff like that? Was that something that they talked about?
Well, some of them were not told to leave, but so I think everybody, media, fans, coaches, have got to understand the new normal and stop overreacting. And I'm not saying our fans or media are doing that, but you see it on Twitter where, oh my goodness, this guy left. Like, welcome to the new world. It's like it would be like coaches with no buyouts. They're free to go, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So this whole what is wrong with your program, why is he leaving? Maybe sometimes it's true. I mean, that could be it. But, Javonte and Josiah wanted an increased offensive role. I think they saw Mash and House are very good scorers. And they felt like maybe they'll get a better opportunity somewhere else. It's their right. I mean, there's nothing holding these guys back, and it's happening everywhere. And again, if coaches didn't have buyouts, like assistants do it. They don't have buyouts, and that's essentially what this has become. So I'm not surprised at all. It's going to continue to be like this all the time. The good part about it is, although you have guys leave, you can replace them with some really good players because it's happening everywhere else.
Coach, when you look at this roster, was it difficult to say to a guy, we have one scholarship to give. You want to come in and be a depth guy? I mean,
be a what guy? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Be a bench guy.
Yeah, basically. I mean, was that kind of the conversation with some of these guys?
Well, we don't really promise starting spots. Now, with transfers, they're older, and I think they understand the rosters and they understand the needs a little bit better. But you just have transparent conversations with everybody of what you expect from them. You don't overpromise. You don't try to underdeliver, obviously. I mean, you just try to explain to them what you think your vision will be. And every recruit that you get is challenging in a unique way. None of them are ever easy. But you got to get guys who love the game. You got to get guys who want to win. They want to play in front of one of the best fan bases in all of college basketball. In the Mountain West, although, people don't know how to term our conference. In our conference, you can go to the NBA. Almost half the league is playing in the postseason. All the games are on national TV, so it's a high-level experience. But every single circumstance is different. But for me, I don't promise anybody anything.
So that last one, you hang on to it, and maybe somebody in December decides, hey, I want to leave and I want to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit different now too, where guys aren't looking at this anymore as a 4-year decision. They're just not, and I hate that, but that's the reality of our whole deal. I love seeing Braden and Quentin and Donovan grow in your program. I'm fired up about True and JT. I don't know how long they're going to be here. I don't know if they're going to want to stick it out, because everybody's getting older. Everybody's got old players right now. It's hard for young players to beat out old players. So we're not just going to use it just to use it. So every day you just open up Twitter and guys are coming and going. So if we can improve our program, we'll do it. But we're not just going to take somebody.
You mentioned Braden and Quentin. Can you just talk about those two guys who are coming back from? I know Braden played a couple minutes, but basically two guys that didn't play as freshmen what's their expectation that you see of their expectation, but then what's your expectation?
Well, I think the biggest thing I kind of lamented a lot on last year was size on the perimeter, and I think we've addressed that. I think with Mash and House, you have to sell out to a certain extent with those two, and that's fine. I mean, they're really good players in a variety of ways, but I do feel like our defense will get better as we get a little bit more multi-positional guys like Braden, who's probably 6'7", Quentin's 6'6", 6'7", multi-positional. They're both, Quentin has worked his butt off in the weight room, got a lot out of the redshirt year. Braden probably not as much because of the injury. He wasn't allowed to do as much. But I hope they have an increased role for their sake as well as the team. Braden is, can he provide that KJ type role? We're going to miss that. Braden can really, really shoot. He's a basketball player. Quentin is kind of I'll do whatever it takes to win type of guy. He can play the 3, 4. He can even play the 5, as crazy as it sounds at times. I don't want that, but he's that willing to do whatever it is that you want. So hopefully both guys have an increased role because, as I said before, it's what I want for them. And I think they will.
It looks like he's a physical guy. You got a tight end, so.
You recruiting for football or? He could. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he did a great job in the weight room. You just never know with freshmen how their bodies will develop, and I think Quentin's done a great job. So, I think he's more of a 4-3 than maybe a 3-4, but it's just a matter of kind of unleashing that athleticism that he has because he's probably the best athlete on the team. He's really terrific and worked his butt off.
When you're putting the roster together like that, obviously there's been an emphasis on getting older players, but is there an emphasis or was there an intention on getting guys who can be versatile, who can play 3, 4, undersized 5, anything? Was there an intention?
Ideally, yeah. I mean, ideally you don't want to. All you got to do is watch the NBA and you just see the versatility of all the players. And that's what we're hoping to do. I mean, I think when you looked at our roster last year, although we had a really good year, didn't have a great year, we had a really good year. We had some size issues on the perimeter for sure. We had a lack of shot blocking. So you want your defense to be better. Certainly we need to coach it better, and I do, but you got to get bigger and longer, and I think we've done that. But yes, multi-positional is huge. And that's what we're trying to identify with is size and skill. And I think we've added that.
You did have some of the best shot blocking guards in the league.
But Morris had as many blocks as I did, but you had Jalen and Donovan were right there at 2 and 3, which is crazy. And I think Nelly will be able to help with that.
As far as the size on the perimeter, talking to Jamal the other day, and I've seen him play at Fresno State, he just seems so much bigger than maybe I realized. Is he a guy that can serve the size role? Because I thought he was more of a 2-guard, and you guys might be playing him at the wing, I know, at the 3. Is he bigger than...
He's got good size. Yeah, I mean, you could tell when you're coaching and he's kind of right in front of you, he belongs out there physically. Like he's never going to get overmatched or, pushed around by any means. He was doing that. So, yeah, I mean, when Javonte decided to move on, we felt like we needed to add kind of a 2-3, whatever you want to call him, and he's that. Jamal's biggest thing has always been just staying healthy. And if he stays healthy, he's a very productive player.
Coach, 2 freshmen, obviously, really high-class freshmen. How much do you see them contributing right away to?
I don't know. It's so hard to say right away. The thing about freshmen, the hardest thing for them is juggling it all. Class, just the weight room, nutrition, managing their time, academics, all the things that we're throwing at them. Are they able to deal with all that and perform at a high level? You just don't know with young players. And everybody deals with that. What I can say is it's one of the best recruiting classes in the history of Lobo basketball. I really believe that. I believe that the guys that we added to go along with, True is a top 100 kid. I don't know how many 4-star kids they've had here in a long time. I feel like JT is really underrated. I mean, I was very, very impressed with him last year, but there's so much that goes into it. Playbook, defensive schemes, all those things. Are they able to grasp them? And if they are, they're going to have a chance. But it's just too hard to tell right now. Very excited about both of them, though.
Your contract is an indication that the school's making an investment in you and the program. But can you make the argument that maybe it's a sign that the program is stabilizing in the fact that they're making an investment in you and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, I'm very appreciative of it. President Stokes and Eddie, their leadership is huge. I mean, you cannot try to do what we're trying to do and raise this thing to the level of expectations of our fans without a lot of people invested on a daily basis, whether it's, Dave Williams just kind of working hand in hand with him and Eddie's support and President Stokes and the board. And all those things are so very important. You can't do this alone, So this has been 2 really fun years. We picked up and kind of, family is very, very important to me. And I kind of just took a chance on moving my family who loved Minnesota to Albuquerque. And this just feels like home. We got camp going on and a bunch of campers are friends of my kids and go to school with them. And like that stuff's very, very important to me. So stability is certainly something that I seek. I want to win at a high level, but I'm not a guy who loves to jump around and take a million different jobs. That has never been my intention. I feel like we've got the train back on the tracks. And a lot of that had to do with the pandemic. But I just feel like we're moving in a great direction. And, I'm very, very grateful of the leadership and the support that we've gotten since I've been here.
Coach, I was going to ask the role that you see from Sheila. It looks like he's a great fit, but I'd love to see what you think in terms of where he might fit in.
He's just a winner. He came onto campus, and you kind of mentioned it like it was later in the process, and we'd gotten some really good players, and he never said, well, am I going to start? Am I going to play this many minutes? He just wants to help us win, and we want to help him. When you got guys who are here 1-2 years, you just try to show them what Morris's experience was like, and it was amazing. And, we feel like it could be a great partnership. And, rebounding the basketball, we'll probably have, obviously, when you lose Josiah, you're not going to be as physical at the 4 and the 5. I mean, Nelly's very, very physical. But you're going to need a guy like Isaac who can, get in there and mix it up, and he'll be able to do that.
Do you know yet how much you're going to change last year? I mean, replacing numbers like 3, 4, and 5 on the roster is simple enough to talk about. But Nelly's not Mo. You don't have a Josiah coming in. So how much are you going to change what you did on the court? Or are you just going to plug in new players to do that?
Yeah, I think it'll look different. I think playing with Josiah and Morris is way more non-traditional these days than what we'll be able to do this year. There was a lot to be made of the lack of threes that we made. Well, part of that was Josiah didn't make a lot of threes. Morris didn't shoot threes. So the personnel had something to do with it. We'll shoot more threes. Do we want to just jack up shots? No, I'm not saying that. But we'll be way more 4 out, 1 in, where we were a little bit more 3 out, 2 in, just because we felt like that was the best way offensively to do it. But offensively, we were elite. I mean, we were 80-something points per game. We were one of top 25 offensive efficiency. We got to pick it up defensively. And if we want to get to a championship level, there can't be that big of a disparity of our offensive numbers versus our defensive numbers. So offensively, it'll be different, somewhat schematically, and we'll just kind of see defensively what we feel like the best thing to do is, with the new personnel.
Some of that defensive deficiency last year had to do with the fact that you're undersized at the 1 and 2. Those guys are obviously coming back and will still get plenty of minutes. How much of a jump can they, old dog new trick stuff, they're in their 4th and 5th years, are they going to get much better defensively, or they are what they are kind of?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably not going to change substantially. I mean, I think Jalen is certainly a pest as it pertains to getting steals. I think, Mash understands you can't just be a scorer, which he's a phenomenal scorer. He's got to show that he can guard the team's best player and do all those things. And as well as me and the coaching staff, we've got to do a better job there. I think shot blocking will help, a little bit more rim protection. But I think for Jalen, Jamal, Mashburn, Baker, guys that have played a lot, doesn't mean you can't get better, as well as myself going into year 12 of being the head coach. Like, we got to find a way. We want to compete for championships. We felt like we were close, but, we obviously didn't get it done in that regard. So that defense has got to get better.
I'm sure every team in the conference watched San Diego State make the championship game feeling like, why not us?
Yeah.
You've been there as a coach. You've seen it. You've experienced it. Is it a matter of just getting hot at the right time? Is it possible for that to happen again, or is San Diego State kind of an aberration for this league?
Well, I mean, San Diego State, like, people say they're a mid-major. They're the furthest thing from a mid-major. I don't think we're a mid-major either. But you have to give great credit to San Diego State. They've had unbelievable stability. They've had two coaches in the last, 40 years? That's continuity. They've got assistants who've been there a long time. They have players who understand, how to win those close games, whether it's here in the pit, whether it was to go to the national championship, right? So I'm not surprised that they made a run. You just got to get in the tournament, and crazy things can happen. But we had league meetings, and all we did was tell Dutch how great he was and thanked him for all the units that they got us, and wish him well whenever they leave our conference. But I've got so much respect for just how they do things. I mean, they're running it at a high level, and we're trying to build that sustainability.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the schedule at the start, and how high-profile teams trying to get there is kind of hard. Anything you can tease us with, like a potential team that might be coming or something like that?
Nobody that's going to excite you on a Wednesday in June. So, we're working on it. Like I said, there's about 10% of college basketball that cares in the non-conference as it pertains to fan bases, and I know ours does. When you're walking down that tunnel and you have more than 14,000 people for a game versus Iona, that means our fans care. So that's not lost on me. As I said before, when I put together the non-conference, there's certain variables. Fans, absolutely number one. Trying to build an NCAA tournament resume would be two. Getting our team better and tested is three. And we're trying to do that, but there's nothing set in stone to reveal right now. Sorry.
You can see what kind of shooter Mustafa is on tape. What kind of a defender can he be?
I don't know. He just got here late last night. So he had some kind of travel issues. Donovan will get here tomorrow. So you won't see him today. But I'll do another open practice for you guys to pretend like you know what you're watching. But he's got size and skill. He does. I mean, that's why we brought him here. You just never know until you see it firsthand.
Did you miss talking to us?
What?
Have you missed talking to us?
This is the longest mid-June press conference I've ever done in my 12 years. It's the highest attended I've ever done as well, and I do miss you guys very much. We're gonna, yeah. Anybody else? Good? All right, thank you guys.